Hi, people, and welcome to another episode of Moral High Ground. I am SLK, Shelby Lee Kyles, and today we are talking about something that shockingly happened after a week or two. I posted an episode about should homelessness be illegal, and what happened with that was Supreme Court decided to intervene and make a decision for Grants Pass in the state of Oregon. And so this is where we're at today, and this is what I'm trying to talk about. Once again, is it morally right or wrong for homeless people to be in the street, and for the state, the local governments to give them tickets and citations and charge them all the way up to where they really can't get back on their feet? Or is it a situation where it needs to happen to punish these people, to make them move to try to survive? I don't know how to explain it any other way. Either way, it doesn't sound too motivating for someone that's on the streets to actually be able to survive. So here we go. We're going to play this news clip about the Supreme Court judgments.
The tiny city of Grants Pass, Oregon, now in the national spotlight, the highest court in the land.
There's not been a homelessness case that has gone this far through the legal system, ever.
The Supreme Court of the United States deciding a case with implications stretching far and wide.
Whether they live in Grants Pass or Seattle or Miami or New York, this is a national issue.
The question, can cities punish people for sleeping or camping in public?
I have probably at least $6,000 to $8,000 in fines.
Are those legal consequences cruel and unusual?
Ultimately, our citizenry cannot utilize park spaces.
Where are they supposed to?
So I have to pause it there because this woman said she has like $8,000 in fines. And I know it wasn't just the intro or whatever, but just hearing that is the proof that the situation is critical. I mean, you're charging people, or taxing them, I should say, for being in a public area. But the thing about it is, most people believe if you don't live in the city, or even if you're homeless or whatever, that you belong somewhere near a city so you have access to things. But that's completely wrong. You should be able to prepare and even get enough money to be able to live out in the wilderness, or at least know some wilderness skills. And this is the problem that we have in our country, in our society nowadays. No one knows how to survive in the wild or a country or whatever without other people or without stores and access to them. So this is like the biggest issue. And so if a time comes to where we don't have access to no electricity, or these cities start to crumble, nobody will be able to survive without a grocery store or something. They don't know how to kill animals because there's a lot of people who love animals, don't want to hurt them or injure them or anything like that. So it becomes more of an issue to find a way to survive off of whatever's left over from factories, from stores, restaurant freezers, things like that. And so it's a way of saying humanity failed itself, because as much as people like that, like they know everything and they're the best of the best, then how come they've forgotten simple things that our ancestors knew how to survive off of, which is the land? And that's what I'm saying about these homeless people. They don't even know how to live off the land, but they're homeless. And maybe, trying to help them could be a good thing. It could be a way to motivate them to do things. But on the other hand, they're a burden to regular citizens that work every day, who walk around trying to survive or have fun, even walk around with a girlfriend or a date or something, and they walk into an area where there's homeless people. So it's not a good situation for anybody. So anyway, moving on.
To sleep.
And what will the ruling mean here in Portland?
If you have access to reasonable access to a shelter or housing, you may not camp in the city of Portland.
Here's the story.
Look, I'll cut the malarkey. We're facing a critical fundraising deadline. With the election just around the corner, I'm humbly asking you, can you give what you can now?
I'm Pat Doris. Welcome to The Story. Tonight we're
Okay, so yeah, we're getting into this. Here we go.
doing a special show, a deep dive into the upcoming Supreme Court ruling involving homelessness. The High Court is widely expected to uphold a law in Grants Pass that has been challenged as unconstitutional because it fines homeless folks for camping or sleeping in public places. Overturning that law would potentially free cities and counties in 9 states and 2 territories, covering tens of millions of people in the West, to enforce tougher rules against homeless camping on public property. Other parts of the U.S. are not under the same restrictions. Still, the ruling could influence policy across the country for years to come. The decision is expected out tomorrow or maybe the next day, since that's the end of the Supreme Court's term before summer break. We don't have a show tomorrow night because of the presidential debate, but we've been doing a lot of work to give you context on what this ruling is going to mean. So we're giving it all to you early. That way you're going to know a lot more than your neighbors or friends. While we don't know exactly what the ruling will say, everyone we've spoken with on both sides of the argument believe the court will uphold the Grants Pass law.
I honestly think that it shouldn't be, even when he's saying that there's an argument on both sides, it shouldn't be a real argument. You know, this is simple knowledge, okay, how to survive. This is what it really comes down to, how to survive. I always say the same thing I always say about the drug issue that makes a lot of people homeless. But then there's things with inflation right now where things are so damn high. I myself can barely survive. Once I pay rent, I'm broke. And it's like, what the hell, you know? And just honestly think about it. The whole system is flawed. And I mean, I said this a billion times. There's things I say on previous podcasts and shows that I've heard recently getting repeated by other people on YouTube and things, and I can honestly say that it's because, hey, I'm not this big time, you know, YouTuber or podcaster or anything like that, so they feel free to take my stuff and make it their own. But to be honest with you, if it's getting out there and it's able to work to a way it can help people, but I mean, honestly, I thought ideas out, I planned them out, wrote them out, and put it out there. And so I say, once again, I said a billion times, buy some land, you know, put at least, you know, get at least 400 to 600 acres and be able to put these people on there, put franchises on there, put livestock, have a farm where people learn how to, you know, grow things, learn how to slaughter, learn how to, you know, make canned goods, vegetables, dried fruits and stuff, all kinds of things to survive, as well as creating and making them build their own homes and things. But this all qualifies to if you can bring back the Homestead Act, which changes the whole game altogether. You bring back the Homestead Act, people can go, and that was created by Lincoln himself. You know, you can go out there and to any state where there's open land. You know, if you're able to live on that land for a certain amount of time and build a house and stuff, you can live there, and it's your land. And you know, it's your land, you got it stock free, didn't have to pay a dime for it. But people use the Homestead Act in different ways on media now, or in the world now. So it's different. Here in Oregon, the Homestead Act has changed. It's for if you buy property, there's some kind of loophole. It's not the same as what I'm talking about. But it's something that needs to be done. The other idea is to take these abandoned towns. There's abandoned towns all over the United States right now. Towns and cities that were once famous, that you see in movies and stuff, torn down to just like deteriorating buildings, people walking around just looking really miserable, and you know, there's a very small population because everyone went to the city. And if those places were restored and had more support and funding, you can take some of these people that are homeless, the ones that are truly not drug addicted or whatever, and put them in these new towns or whatever. Even bring back some ghost towns or whatever. There was some video I seen of a town where the people vacated the town because of some kind of chemical leak or gas or something, and like it's like they just dropped everything and left. And the town, they had these people going there with cameras, you know, one of them shows where they go around and film everything and show it on their YouTube channels and stuff. And I think that would be a good town to restore You know, whatever it was, where chemical leak was, stuff, just make sure it doesn't hit there again, and you can restore it for the people who are homeless. There's so many different ideas, but I don't think a city park is good. I really don't think a street corner is good because there's disabled people that need to get by, people that's busy. Especially if you're in a busy area of town, there's no need for pit tents and all this crap in the middle of the streets. It's ridiculous. So that's just my opinion. So, you too.
So, how did we get here? To answer that question, we have to first go back to 2009 in Boise, Idaho. A homeless shelter there closed, and 6 people were cited for violating a city ordinance that makes it illegal to sleep on public property. That became a federal case. It took nearly 10 years for Martin v. Boise to make its way through the court system, but in 2018, the Ninth Circuit Court, a federal appeals court, ruled with the plaintiffs.
You cannot criminalize the status of being a homeless person who needs a place to sleep.
They said it was a violation of the Eighth Amendment, which prohibits cruel and unusual punishment to charge homeless people for sleeping in public if there are not enough shelter beds available for them. The Supreme Court in 2019 declined to take the case and let the Ninth Circuit Court ruling stand. The Ninth Circuit covers 9 states in the western U.S., including Oregon, Washington, California, and Idaho, so the ruling affected all of those states. 2 years later, Oregon passed House Bill 3115, which essentially codified the Martin decision. It says that any local law regulating sitting, lying, sleeping, or keeping warm and dry on public property must be objectively reasonable as to time, place, and manner for people who are homeless. In May this year, Portland City Council passed a camping ban for public property. It bans people from obstructing sidewalks and private property and prohibits camping if shelter is available. It's a watered-down version of the original ban, which was caught up in court.
While I realize there are people who wish that we could act in a stronger manner and in a more forceful manner, it would be in violation of Martin v. Boise, and it would be in violation of House Bill 3115.
So before they get to whatever the next thing they're saying, they're starting off trying to explain where we are today with this homeless situation. But the thing that I'm tripping on, okay, and which was said just a little while ago, was the fact that, first off, they said if the homeless shelters are available, then it's illegal for them to sleep on the street. And they said this before. This was like a couple of years ago, maybe 3 years ago, they were saying that. And they actually went on investigation to these places and found out that there was tons of beds for these people, tons of beds. So it's like, you gotta think, what is the reason why they don't want to go to these homeless shelters? Why do they not want to be there? Is there something going on? And so, here's the thing that's going on. This is proof of knowledge. Most of it, okay, number one reason why they don't want to go is they're on drugs, and they can't do drugs in their shelters. That's number one. Okay, number two is you got certain type of employees who take it as if they're in jail. Like these people are in jail, they're really homeless. So they treat the homeless shelter like it's a prison. Three, they can't do what they want. They can't go around and do whatever they want. They got people in there fucking with them, all kinds of things. It's not good, And fourth reason I would have to say is because they have to sign papers, they have to sign like their social security numbers, they have to show them that, do all these different things to get in the shelter and stay there. And so, like, they don't want to give the information, they don't want to have to sign papers and have people sign things to prove that they were there looking for a job and all this. Like, you're penalizing someone, so it automatically feels like they're criminals. So all these different things. Like, literally, if they go look for work, they gotta prove they went to look for work, or they gotta prove that they, are part of trying to move forward in some kind of way. And if they're not moving forward in some kind of way, then the privilege for helping them only lasts a short time. Technically, they're supposed to stay in the shelter for 3 months until they're able to get stabilized, and they got people there that are supposed to help them find housing. That's the thing that people miss with this whole shelter thing. Is there's, I don't know how you say it, I guess they're agents or some kind of counselor that finds housing for them, finds housing, finds a job, They got job people come in all the time and try to tell them find work. There's medical things. There's all kinds of resources there. But Portland being one of the places that have too many resources, these people tend to avoid it because they're really just trying to find free stuff and be able to, do what they want once again and be on drugs and all that. So it's always bad. I mean, it's just always bad.
Now to Grants Pass, which passed a set of ordinances that would fine people for sleeping on sidewalks, streets, or in parks. A group of homeless people sued the city, and the Ninth Circuit Court ruled in their favor, citing their earlier Martin v. Boise decision. But this time, when the city's attorneys went to the U.S. Supreme Court, the court agreed to take up the case.
I think the court took this case precisely with an eye to reversing the Ninth Circuit's decision.
They heard arguments back in April.
Where do we put them if every city, every village, every town lacks compassion and passes a law identical to this? Where are they supposed to sleep?
We usually think about whether state law, local law already achieves those purposes so that the federal courts aren't micromanaging a homeless policy.
And that is how we got here.
Just a little bit of things that was said by the people of the Supreme Court. It makes you wonder, as she's saying that, where they're supposed to sleep, if every law in every state has the same law, and it just penalizes the people. And the guy said something similar. But the thing about it is this, okay? It's like, first off, the Supreme Court, okay? Everybody that's a judge wants to get to the Supreme Court, but it's something, a lawyer wants to get to the Supreme Court, but it doesn't happen. And they pick and choose, I guess, things that they feel as either a United States problem or something that poses a threat to the community, I guess, because this is a community issue. So the thing about it is, what's the best solution to trying to get these people off the ground and back into being accepted in society? This is a way of saying that America's failed itself, honestly, because, every state, New York, Nevada, California, Oregon, Washington, and so on and so on, and let's not forget the states that are actually losing people, in these other states. They're losing people, and the towns are going to crap, like I said. So it's like America's failed itself somewhere in between there. Maybe because people got so happy about going to a city for jobs, and there's no jobs there really that's worth it, or the job that they went there for wasn't beneficial for them. So it's just a big issue and a big problem, and it needs to be eliminated. Man, so if the Supreme Court makes a good judgment that actually helps the people, as well as the citizens in that city, to where there's no conflict in between, then that would be more of a way to resolve things. But it's still not good enough. I don't think it's good enough. And I believe this issue can be fixed, but I believe it takes a lot of effort from the person who is homeless, more than the people who are trying to make judgments on their decisions, on their lives. It makes more sense to me if the people can say, okay, I'm going to do this, I don't want to be in the streets. But once again, you cannot forget there's a drug issue out there. So we've got to find a way to automatically give them support with rehab or whatever, or find a way to eliminate the drug issue at the source. That's the main way to get these people out of the streets, honestly, and give them protection in their own towns and villages and things. So yeah.
Now, two other facts for you on this Grants Pass case. It involves 608 homeless folks from the Grants Pass area. And secondly, the Gospel Rescue Mission there has 138 shelter beds, but none of those were counted by the lower courts because, as the court said, they had substantial religious requirements. Now, an obvious question is, if Grants Pass is upheld and Martin v. Boise essentially tossed out, what's that mean on the streets of Portland? Well, we've talked with several folks as we prepared for the ruling, including Portland's Mayor Ted Wheeler. He says it will not have an immediate impact. Mr. Mayor, thanks for making time to be with us today. We're recording this before any announcement has come out on Grants Pass and the Boise v. Martin homeless decision, but assuming that it is overturned, what's that going to mean for the city of Portland and the streets of Portland?
Well, first of all, the main strategy that we're pursuing as an administration is going to continue. And that is, on one hand, we're going to maintain the public right-of-ways and public safety. On the other hand, our constituents overwhelmingly want us to offer humane alternatives to people living on the street. In other words, they want us to help them access whatever services they need to get off and stay off the street. Behavioral health services, addiction treatment services, and the like. That's going to continue. Moreover, it's also important for people to understand from a legal perspective, even though Martin v. Boise may get overturned, and in fact, I think people sort of expect that it will be overturned, the state of Oregon, through the legislature, took the step of codifying Martin v. Boise into state law. So even if Martin v. Boise is overturned, we still have to comply with the state law, which is House Bill 3115, which requires us to have reasonable time, place, and manner restrictions.
Okay, so
that's
first off,
still in effect.
No change. People are not going to look out their window and see a big change in the city of Portland.
Not until the legislature takes up House Bill 3115. If Martin v. Boise falls, then the question for the legislature is, do they then want to revise or get rid of House Bill 3115?
So, with the, they're making it a number game and a legal, debate, over which law is better or which one would overpower the other one. And it's not even about that. It's just like I'm saying, there's people's lives that are at stake, and it's like, we gotta find a way to separate the two, just make one straight flat law. Don't need to charge these people more. Why? It doesn't make any sense. The Grants Pass doesn't make any sense because they're giving people violation tickets and stuff, and they know they're homeless. So it's like you're torturing a homeless person who's probably got $50 maybe for whatever meal, or whatever their Social Security is, whatever, and then you want to pay a $350 ticket as half of their money, or a portion, and it's like, it's ridiculous. They should be able to separate these people into another area of town. But the thing that's different between Portland and Grants Pass is Grants Pass has land, it has woods areas around it. There's no way that they should be in the city or town. I said that in an episode I did just about a week or two ago. And so it makes no sense why they're even going through that whole thing of ticketing these people and stuff. And then if Portland trying to compare itself to there, which is a problem with Portland, compare themselves to every state and country or city or whatever, just to protest, and it's a bunch of nonsense. And they give people that's angry more of a reason to hate the city. It doesn't make any damn sense. It confuses me, and it always has. But, my personal dealings, when you're walking down the street, and you're like, let's say, had a problem where I was walking down the street, I was going from one job to another job, and this girl's on a street car or the train or whatever, Max, and she was just going off and making all these dumbass noise excuses. I wasn't even thinking about her. I'm sitting there going, I gotta get this job, I gotta get this other job. That's the way I was thinking. And all these people in there just ignoring this chick. You start screaming, and it just pissed me off. I had to cuss her out because I'm like, what the fuck? I don't want to hear this crap. I've been like hours at a job where I'm hearing people scream and run around and crap, and I'm trying to go to another job. This girl screaming high pitch and stuff. So as I start cussing or whatever, everybody's bowing their head down and all this. It doesn't make any sense. Okay, you're enabling this person to sit there and act like a child, a grown-up person act like a child, and this is what's happening out here: is grown-up people acting like children, de-evolving into little toddlers, little butt knockers and fart holes, little annoying people, and it's not good. It's like, even when you talk about the protest and the SJWs and all this, it's like childish behavior that is being accepted in a society where we're supposed to strive and succeed. Honestly, this is supposed to be a country of wealth, but all I see is a country of poverty and people that's begging for everything. but no one wants to take the time to sit back and try to find out where their talents is and where they can succeed at and grow with other people. And that's the problem. I know it had nothing to do in a way about what I'm talking about with this homeless situation, but at the same time, it's a big issue to why these people are homeless, because they wanted to stay childish, you know? So, I mean, that's just my opinion, and maybe off topic.
Okay, so despite the federal ruling, Oregon has a state law that says restrictions on homeless camping have to be reasonable for time, place, and manner. So what does that mean? Well, time means the restrictions, when those restrictions kick in, for example, from 8 in the morning until 8 at night. Place means where camping is restricted. For example, you can't camp near schools or in doorways or businesses, parks, that sort of thing. And manner means what folks are using to camp. Are they in a sleeping bag or a big tent? How big is the tent? Can they collect stuff outside the tent? All those things. One issue Portland is still trying to figure out: what is reasonable for any of that? Okay.
Right, this is just a crazy situation. And that part right there where they say, can they collect things outside the tent? That's the biggest problem, because they're getting stuff wherever they stole or whatever they think, you know, kleptomaniacs, whatever the hell, and they just put it all over the place, literally. And that's another thing. Once again, I came from work one time, going to my other job, and this girl had this whole corner blocked off. Like, just, you walking up, you know, you see stuff in the way, you're trying to walk around it, and then you get to the corner and you got stuff all around the corner lined up. There's no way anybody's not gonna trip over all that shit. And you got a bike in the way, all this crap. Why would you think there's an open space to get through? Oh, there's something else in the way. You know, and the broad tried to cuss me out, and I straight up told her, go get a job, you lazy bitch, you go find a house. You know, and I said this stuff, and everyone around me is like looking shocked. But it's the truth. And the reason why this happened too is because, and this isn't just what, think about what he said. He said if you have a tent and you got your stuff collected around it. But this place that I was walking by had one of those little tiny homes. And so you had a little tiny home, and then you had all your little buddies outside of the tiny home, outside the gate, trying to live because their friends live inside the tiny home. That's wrong, okay? Put them somewhere else. And so while they're inside the gate, you know, the whole thing of the tiny home is to stop them from being in the streets, and stop them from collecting stuff, and put it all in the middle of the street to stop people from moving and, you know, functioning normally during the day as a citizen. But if you have all their buddies outside doing the same crap that people do already when they're homeless, trashing the neighborhood, blocking off the corner, then you're just making the problem even worse, and you're making a big collective hive in that one area. And so, yeah, I flipped out, and I made it clear, like, hey, you know what I'm saying? He's a stupid bitch. Like, it's like, you know, it's like, get a job, find a place to live. You know what I'm saying? I was going off. It's not a hard, difficult thing, really. If you think about it, you can find a way to find something. Hell, a person in a car makes more sense than a person just trying to sit in the city streets. It shouldn't be hard to get you money saved up a little bit to get something that you want. You know what I'm saying? Not unless some other thing is taking more priority over the other. You know, and with this situation, it's mostly drugs. So it's just a bad thing. But my point is, they're not smart. And I'm not talking about the homeless here. I'm saying the city is not smart. They're not smart at all on how they put these people in these tiny homes, which is stupid. You got elderly people who can't sit in no tiny ass home. They need to be in something bigger, or, you know, a homeless, not a homeless, but a, what do you call it, a nursing home or something. They can't sit back and be in a tiny home. That's stupid. They're not children. They're not a dog. You know, they need a stable place that can move around in. You know, that stuff doesn't work for everybody. Tiny homes, it's easier to build, it costs less money, and they'll be happy to have a place to stay. No, it's not cool. It's not cool at all, you know? So, I mean, this whole thing is just, I just don't understand why they don't want to try to put them in a place that's brand new. We have 10,000, almost more, homeless people, and you don't want to build a small town for them so they can succeed on their own. I mean, literally, that's the number of a small town. So I have no idea why it's so difficult. It's the main thing I say all the time. I've been saying it forever. Like I said, I've been on YouTube for a minute. You know, I'm a small YouTuber, don't got a lot of subscribers. And so people steal my stuff. But that's the point, is that I don't care who says it, they don't think about it and analyze it more than I do. Okay? And it's just really stupid. You can make a small town. You can make a little village, whatever. Put some stuff there. Just slowly grow on it, and it becomes something later on. It's been done to other towns within this city or state, I should say. And you know them. You know them all already. Okay, McMinnville or freaking Estacada or freaking. I mean, just any of these places, okay, they're like nothing there, and then they're building something, they're trying to work on making themselves a better town or big place, whatever. But this is just stupid, you know. The city is wrong, more than the homeless people are wrong, because the city's the ones allowing it, and now they're trying to penalize it and put people in you know, just stupid. Putting people in prison or giving them a way to put themselves deeper in debt.
And what I'm always confused when I hear this reasonable time, place, manner. What is that?
It is confusing,
yeah.
And I'm glad you said that because to comply with that state law, the city of Portland passed an ordinance that we thought was very moderate in terms of time, place, and manner restrictions. We believed we met what is called the reasonable standard that is required under House Bill 3115, but a Multnomah County judge enjoined us, meaning she decided that we had not met the threshold for reasonable time, place, and manner restrictions, so that basically put it on hold.
Okay, but what does that mean? Reasonable time, place, and manner?
We don't know. Well, and so here's the problem.
Okay, but
the term reasonable hasn't been defined.
That don't make no sense. He's throwing out a whole bunch of words that's from the textbook or whatever the legal document is, and you don't even know what it means. You don't even know what it means. So if you don't even know what it means, and you're saying it all the time, and you're trying to say this is what we need to do, all you're saying is, I'm blowing smoke up your ass, and you're gonna believe it because I'm a mayor, and what I'm saying is some kind of legal document, so it sounds professional enough for you to understand, even though you don't understand the damn thing going on. It's the most ridiculous thing I ever heard of. It just doesn't make any damn sense.
And by the legislature, and that is one thing that I would request that they do. If they want to keep some time, place, and manner restrictions in place, they have to define reasonable, because the court refused to do it. We thought we defined reasonable. The court refused, said that we had not done so, but refused to define it for us. And so it goes right back to the legislature. What did you guys mean when you said reasonable? For us, we had a very clear path to what we thought it meant.
So how's that for a little bit confusing? To get some more perspective on the question of House Bill 3115, we talked with Ed Tumpfreak. He's a municipal lawyer for several cities in Oregon. He says 3115 is going to need some work.
So before I even hear that or even talk about that or entertain it, okay, you got to think of it like this, okay? These people are doing the same thing every certain type of business does. Politics in this situation is ran like a business. It's ran like some kind of organization or a charity type of organization, because what's going down is this, okay? The government steps in and looks at how the cities are doing, and in this situation, we got a whole bunch of homeless people, so you get funds, you get all these money, and the last time I checked, they had like 64,000 or whatever, almost like $2-3 million to help the homeless, but none of it's getting put into place. So the COVID hit, or once COVID was about to end, I remember they had 21 million. I talked about it on one of my other shows, UUPN, and I talked about it, and I did this whole thing. And you can check and go through my channel on my playlist, and just watch some of my episodes. UUPN is the one you want to watch mostly before I created, this for YouTube and stuff like that. And you'll find out that I was been talking about this homeless situation forever. I was out there interviewing them and everything. And the thing about it is, around that time of 2021, they had got 21,000 or something like that. And then it was like later on, they said it was a quote relief fund. That's what they were saying at the time, and it never got spent. And then so they went back and they got another, I think it was 40,000 or something like that. And they said, the money, the 21 we got from people's taxes or some stuff. They tried to make it seem like it wasn't the same exact money from the COVID relief fund, but obviously it was, because the COVID relief fund money never got spent. and then they added 40,000 to it, and then so then they turn around and get another something that ends like 60 something or something like that. So they just kept getting all this money, and then they would cover it up to the point where I got tired of watching the news because it was pissing me off. And the thing about it is, this is what it is. It's the same thing if you got a housing company, okay, and he's like, okay, we're gonna fix this place up, and they're giving money and grants to fix the place up so you can get people in there for fair housing or whatever. And you know, put people in there that destroy the place, that damages the place or whatever, and they won't be quick to get them out. I'm like, they should be able to get rid of the victim as soon as they do something that causes harm to anybody else or whatnot, but they don't do that because they get more money. Say, okay, oh, we need more help, this person did this and that. So it's the same situation. It's the same thing with the law, like, oh, some criminals are let go, so they can say, hey, we need more funding to get these criminals out. This is the way cities get money off of people and the government. Okay, you're getting people's money by them paying taxes. You're getting government money because they print it daily. So it's like, hey, you're showing that your city's in danger, your town's in danger, your house is in danger, or your place you're renting from, and, you know, and all this is so, hey, we need money to stop this situation. So yeah, that's what they do. Whenever there's too much of something, you get it from taxes and you put more money into it to solve the problem. And so that's what it's all about. Like when cops will say crime is going up, well, you need more cops to do the job. So put more money on taxes on the cops, so you'll be able to give the cops more money so they can do their job. And that's why things are the way it is. So it's the same thing with housing costs. It's the same thing with, you know, inflation. All this, okay? They will raise the prices on taxes so they can be able to enforce something. If they don't do that, there's some kind of grant that's getting put out to be able to get these people into where they need to go or whatever it has to happen. And that's what it's all about. It's a money game. It's a big money game. And all these fancy words that this mayor and everybody's about to say is stupid. And they're trying to show that you don't have enough intelligence to understand that it's a money game.
Some questions will come up. So in terms of 3115 being clear and objective, it's not. It's full of soft, vague language, and it would be very helpful if some state agency, maybe the Attorney General's office, were directed to write some regulations to help clarify what's meant by it. Otherwise, cities will do it, and then it'll be going through the court system, and judges will have to make the decision as to what's allowed and what's not.
But one of the lawmakers who sponsored the bill back in 2021 says she thinks the law has been working for cities. Here's Representative Pam Marsh from Southern Oregon.
Honestly, I think the 3115 has worked pretty well in giving cities direction. The city of Medford, I represent a little part of the city of Medford in my district, passed an ordinance that was challenged in court. What the court said, and it was one of the same judges who ruled against Grants Pass, in the case of Medford, said the city had really met that standard of reasonableness. They looked globally at the programs that are in place and what the ordinance said and validated the ordinance. Ashland has passed a similar ordinance, again, ensuring that the ordinance is paired with services that actually can help people with a multitude of issues that they're struggling with when they're on the street. An ordinance has to be paired with services in order to be effective. So what I've seen in my own district is I think the state law has provided adequate guidance, and I think cities have stepped up to recognize that while they need to address health and safety issues on the street, they also need to be there in a supportive way for people who are struggling.
Now, enforcement of any effort to curtail homeless camping will need support from the district attorney's office.
So I didn't even think the homeless issues would go that far south down to Portland. But man, that's almost hitting California when you talk Medford and Ashland, Oregon. So, and Ashland's this crappy town that I always get a flat in my car at. I hate that town. Okay, but the situation's critical, it sounds like, and it sounds like no one's making a real, none of this they're talking about sounds real. It just sounds fake, it sounds delusional, and we're supposed to be the wealthiest country in the world, and it just sounds like they don't care about restoring these places or putting people's safety putting people's safety, trying to say the right thing. Anyway, just trying to make sure people are safe, the American people are safe. And I'm not just saying about the citizens, I'm about the homeless people too, because they're out there sleeping in the streets and no one knows what could happen. There's people that were running around here around COVID time, around a little bit after that. They were going up and beating people's asses in tents. They're going up with bats and stuff and beating up homeless people, and it wasn't cool. So some homeless people came together and they tried to defend one another, but it still ain't cool. None of it's cool either way. And that's type of stuff that needs to be in their little village or town or some little province, where they can defend their whole town against outsiders that want to come in and do something to them. It's just all ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense, and morally, it's got to be wrong. It's just got to be wrong. It's just, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out the thing. I keep positive because certain things don't make sense to me, and it's obvious that it doesn't make sense to them because they're just pulling stuff out their ass.
I recently got a chance to talk with Nathan Vasquez, the Multnomah County's incoming DA, about that very issue.
So there still needs to be some efforts at the state legislature if we want to see a change, or locally we need to come up with really a system that shows and demonstrates, hey, there are shelter or housing opportunities available and individuals are just choosing not to take those. So it's really, it is a situation where we need to see some movement either at the state legislature or whether that's locally, and creating that really what I believe is very necessary either way is a database system that can easily direct people to shelter options.
Yeah, I can drive into the airport and see immediately in the parking garages where there's open spaces. Why can't we have something like that for the homeless?
Yeah, I mean, that's a question I ask all the time because hotels do it every single day, as we know. And so it is a situation where it's going to take some leadership, and it's going to take a small amount of money. I don't think it's a massive amount to create this. I know that some of our commissioners have been very interested in doing this. I just think it needs to be pushed forward, and it's one that I believe when it gets in place, then we can start looking at, okay, A, can we really meaningfully help people get into shelter? And then B, if people are engaged in behaviors that really kind of impinge upon our other citizens, like blocking sidewalks, massive amounts of garbage.
That's my point. That's my point right there. That's my point right there. Exactly what I'm talking about. That's my point. Okay, they block the sidewalk. It's just block sidewalks and garbage, trash, all kinds of crap, and they get mad if you interfere with the crap, but this stuff is in the way blocking. That's the main problem, I think, with the homeless people, plus tents and stuff. It doesn't make any sense. This is stupid.
Then we can start taking a little more action, I believe, in those areas.
And we are recording this before the ruling has come down, but there's a lot of assumptions that maybe it will be overturned. And I think that creates a lot of fear for some folks. But my sense is, and I want to know what you think, is in Multnomah County, we won't see any immediate change because of that state law?
Yeah, I don't expect that you'll see anything that's going to happen right away. And to be clear, I don't believe there's an appetite or an interest to be criminalizing people because they're homeless. The issue would be more, are they engaged in behaviors that are affecting other people in our community?
So, obviously, yes, they're doing all kinds of things that's affecting the community, affecting America's youth and everything else, because they're free to do whatever, and they done made drugs free to make them do whatever. So it's like, yeah, they're gonna be high, they're gonna be doing crazy nonsense. I mean, doing the damnedest things. I've seen some stuff, y'all, and I ain't there. I can tell you half the stuff I've seen, but it just ain't cool, literally.
And if we want to see those changes where we're looking at taking more assertive actions, it is going to take a change at the state legislature before any of that can happen.
Finally now, a bit of context involving what comes next for Grants Pass. They were sued by the Oregon Law Center in federal court. If the U.S. Supreme Court rules against them, legal observers tell me it's quite likely that same group will sue in state court, arguing the law there violates the state law we've been talking about. The lawsuit would be filed in Josephine County. It's a good bet that whichever way that goes at the first court level, the ruling would be appealed to the State Court of Appeals and then possibly to the Oregon Supreme Court. In the meantime, you should expect to see lots of pressure on Oregon lawmakers during the legislative session in early 2025 to change that state law. That's House Bill 3115. Many will want to get a clear definition of what reasonable means when it comes to enforcing homeless camping rules.
And so, I don't know. I've heard enough. just a bunch of nonsense. It doesn't make any sense. And yeah, there's gonna be some kind of ruling or some kind of thing, but it doesn't sound like they're. Literally, this has been going on way too long, and it's been going on way too long. Not just in Oregon, but all over the country. And then the thing about it, what makes it worse, is now there's people that came over the border without identification, who's all over the nation. There's some that are the actual criminals and, part of the cartel there and all this other stuff that's running around the country. And they can't find some of them, and some of them are being deported back. And I think that's not fair for the people that became American citizens. So it's just all wrong, all over the board. And I think the government is responsible for it. The local government and the state governments, federal I should say, is all part of this problem. Even the legislative branches, legislative, federal, and the Supreme Court itself, all of them are all responsible because they saw the problem long ago and let it happen this way. And they're more responsible when it comes to the local governments because they're taking the money and they're pocketing the money. They're walking around with brand new cars and stuff, and that's because they're taking the money that belongs to these homeless people, to these places that want to help the homeless people, and places that could change the whole situation where none of them's homeless. So it's all the government's fault. And there's a reason why. We just don't know what it is. But I believe it has to do with our annihilation, or extinction. Dang, English is bad. But y'all know what I'm talking about. So, bottom line, none of this is morally right. The whole thing I just think, and I said this before last week or two when I had the other episode, I think that it's morally wrong to tax these people, to write, subpoenas or whatever you want to call it, tickets or whatever to these people for over 300 or 500. Some people have 8,000, as one woman said in this video here, and it doesn't make any sense. And it's like, here you go once again, and you're talking about, now there's another law that requires them to do this, requires them to do that. Why is all these laws and you just ain't doing what needs to be done? There's too many reasons why someone could be homeless. They could be like the females that get away from their abusers, so they're on the streets. Or it could be a kid that got tired of the parents and ended up on the streets. It could be the drugs themselves. Or it could be a prostitute that got, taken advantage of or whatever. Or she was a stripper or whatever. And now she's homeless because, some dude she put faith in and whatever. It could be all kinds of scenarios. Tons of them. But they're not making it right. They're not helping the situation. And so everyone's wrong in this situation. Morally, only God would know. But one thing I do know is you're supposed to help your fellow men. And if not just that, you're supposed to be a neighbor, like a good neighbor. I'm not trying to say State Farm is there, but somebody got to be there, if not anybody. Hopefully, it's the one that got some moral sense in this situation. And with that being said, this has been Moral High Ground. Peace be with you all. Blessings upon you always. Until next time, hopefully I come up with something better. So, subscribe if you dig it, like, and pass it around. Share it more than anything. That way, people get to have their own opinions on things I'm talking about. So, peace.